Welcome to the Behind the Bar podcast. Today, Kayleigh is joining us. Kayleigh, please tell us where you're from.
Hello, thanks for having me. I'm Kayleigh and I work at the Licensed Trade Charity. I do marketing and fundraising.
Perfect. How long have you been there?
I have been there just over a year now.
Nice. Enjoying it?
I am indeed. I think I've never worked for a charity before, and I think working for a hospitality charity in particular is really unique, and I'm really enjoying it.
Good. Have you worked in hospitality before at all?
I have done some marketing for bars back in Ireland, kind of when I was first starting out, but I have never officially worked behind the bar or pulled a pint.
I thought you said you poured one the other day.
Well, I don't know if you could really count it as pouring a pint because I did it so badly. I'm not very good.
It's not that difficult.
I know, but I was. In fairness to me, it was when we were doing a photo shoot in Summerstown Coffee House, and so I was also trying to smile and look in the camera and pour a pint at the same time. And bearing in mind it was my first time, it was too many things all at once.
It's a lot to do at once. I
Could you do
appreciate that. I pour pints all the time, so yeah, I could do it with my eyes closed, but that's just me bragging.
What I really want to do is learn how to pour a pint of Guinness, so that is like
3
literally
steps.
on my bucket list.
127 seconds, apparently.
Really?
Yeah, that's how the perfect Guinness should be poured in 127 seconds.
Do you pour a good Guinness?
I do pour a good Guinness. I can't draw a 4-leaf clover to save my life.
Well, it's offensive if you do, you know.
They look
we don't want a shamrock on our Guinness.
They look like dead flies when I do them. Or like a wilted flower that's just in the corner. But I can pour a very good Guinness.
Nice.
Yeah. And Guinness Zero.
Which actually is delicious.
Is delicious. The
Really
best non-alcoholic drink out there.
100%.
I feel like we're just bigging up Guinness right now.
I do love it. I do, but the 0%, I was really surprised at how well matched they had it. Really, really good.
So for those that don't know, what does the Licensed Trade Charity do?
Good question. The LTC is here to support people working in the hospitality industry. So we offer emotional, financial and practical support. Through our helpline, we have a 24/7 helpline where you get access to a trained counsellor answering the phone. So if you need help in the moment, they're there to help. Or it could be kind of a block of counselling sessions, and we do for individuals, couples and children. And I think the most important thing is, especially now, there are no waiting lists. So if somebody is in need of help, they don't need to wait weeks, months, years. It can be for anyone in the household. We also offer financial support, so that can be a one-off hardship grant for anyone who might be struggling to get a housing deposit together, who needs help with groceries, who is struggling to find the money to pay for white goods. We can help anybody who's worked in the trade for 5 years or more.
That's a lot. You cover a lot of areas.
We do.
Have you seen since COVID that it's become a lot, more people are using everything? Obviously, COVID was a huge impact on the industry and those working in the industry.
Yeah.
Is that a huge thing that's changed? Have you got more different age ranges and stuff, or is it?
Definitely. I think one of the positives, if you can say, coming out of COVID is that our awareness grew because there was more of a need for us, and the fact that we're now kind of reaching more people is great. But I think previously with the charity, they used to help people who had retired from the industry, and be that emotionally or financially. But more and more, we're seeing people currently working in the industry, which is, it's a sign of the times. Things are not easy at the moment, but it just, I think it's great that we're there to be able to help. But it's definitely a big difference going from people who have already retired in the industry, who need some help, to actually helping those people who are working.
Yeah, that's quite a big shift, I guess.
Yeah.
And they all have completely different needs, because when you're retired, you've probably already got the house, or, you'd assume you'd have the house or the livings, quarters and stuff. Whereas if you're in the trade, you might be looking for a house, there's so many different things, isn't there?
Yeah, and I think that's the one really great thing about the Licensed Trade Charity is when people come to the charity asking for help, they look at people individually, and we pick up the phone, we have conversations with people. We sometimes send out volunteers if we think that that's going to help, and we the goal is always to find out what exactly is going on. And I think often somebody might phone the helpline and they're struggling with their mental health. And if we send a volunteer out, it turns out they are struggling financially. And, you know, we've had people go into households where kids, you know, don't have beds to sleep in. And there's so much you find out by having conversations with people, finding out what's going on. And the charity then will take each person's circumstances and figure out what's the best thing to get them back on their feet. So, you know, it could be, you know, a grant that will kind of give them that light at the end of the tunnel that could just give them the steps that they need to then go on and kind of improve their living circumstances. And I think that's what the one really great thing about the charity is, that everybody is looked at individually, because not everybody's circumstances are the same. And so it's really the grants and the support that's offered is really tailored to what that person needs.
Obviously, your role is slightly different. So you don't answer the phones as such to people. You are the marketing and fundraising side of it. But have you, like with the team and stuff, is there a difference when they are speaking to someone who's younger, so 18 or 20? Is there a different way you approach it? Do you go, like, compared to the people that, like you said earlier, the retired people, is there a different way that you approach depending on their age?
I think I love being in the office because we sit beside the charity services team who answer the phone. So we have our helpline and that's separate, but certain cases come into the office and they are absolutely incredible. Honestly, like, it blows my mind every day when I hear them. And they are so compassionate, so empathetic, but not condescending. And the way that they speak to people on the phone, I just think that if I was ever struggling with anything, they are exactly who you want at the other end. And I think, you know, especially for maybe kind of younger people coming through, the team are very good at kind of giving advice and helping people like see kind of a way out of the situation. But again, like, not in a condescending way, in just a really nice, compassionate way. And I think, and, you know, they get lots of kind of emails and stuff afterwards from people saying, like, thank you so much. Like, that phone call literally, like, changed the way I've seen the outlook of my life, because having someone on the phone, on the other end of the phone, listening, understanding and reassuring, and, you know, and then coming from that, being able to offer some support and help. I think, you know, it's incredibly important, and they are incredibly good at what they do.
I suppose that phone call could save their life. Like, literally. It is literally one call away, but the impact that they have on that person could change their life forever.
Yeah. I mean, we, like, recently there was somebody who came through the helpline and they were a victim of domestic abuse, and, you know, she was absolutely terrified on the phone, and Alison, who was answering, was just absolutely incredible, so reassuring. You know, had to ask the questions to find out how we could help, which isn't easy because this poor woman was, you know, so upset and so scared. But by doing that and approaching it in the way that she did find out, you know, what she needed help with, and she needed help with movers and moving costs to get out of the house and to go to a sheltered housing. And so we were able to help with that, like, really efficiently. And I think, you know, having the right person answering the phone and like, knowing how to approach really, really sensitive situations is just, it's so important.
I can imagine some of the situations are not the nicest to hear as well. So I suppose, like, it's also a lot on the team.
It is.
So when they're having those conversations, I'm assuming you guys have someone that they can talk to.
Yes.
Because that's a lot to take in. And obviously, like, they love their job because they are helping people, and that's hospitality at the end of the day. It's how you're there to help people, speak to people, make friends with people, sort of that is why we work in the industry. But I imagine it's quite tough on them.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's the classic thing where phone goes down and, you know, then you process what you've just heard. And I think, you know, everyone, they take breaks and everyone kind of gathers around, like, you know, makes tea. And then, you know, I think the best thing to do is for them, they tell us and they talk to us, and, you know, we have a conversation about what they've just been through themselves, because it isn't easy listening to that on the phone. And then, you know, you just wait 5 minutes and the phone rings again. So they can, you know, sometimes they're just jumping straight back into it again, which isn't easy, but they are very good at what they do, and they're very passionate about what they do, and they just want to help people. They just want to get people kind of out of the situation that they're in so that they can kind of move on with their lives.
So I suppose like anyone in the industry can call you about anything, can't they?
Yeah.
So when I used to work in a pub when I was younger, I think the times have changed a lot. Pub I work in is quite an old man's pub. Being a young girl in an old man's pub, you get quite a lot of comments and things.
I imagine.
Yeah, like a nice ass and like great thanks. Like,
yeah,
I guess that's a compliment, but probably shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And nowadays, if you get that, then it's like it's not abuse. I don't know what you class it as. It
is. I mean,
it shouldn't happen.
Exactly, it absolutely shouldn't happen.
And it is a generation thing. I think people talking like that is well, I could do it back then. Why can't I do it now?
Exactly.
But I'm assuming like someone could call in and be like, look, there's this customer pestering me and wanting to like, they've taken a photo of me or something, or they keep telling me that I look great today. And like, is it they could fall in to be like, how do I deal with this? Or
yeah, absolutely. You know, they could like as an example, you know, they would probably look at the emotional side of that, like, you know, how does that make you feel? You know, what, like, we can give you some kind of coping mechanisms if you're to face this kind of circumstance again. And also then looking at the practical side of things. We have another side of our helpline, which is kind of like management tips. And it's a bit like when you call citizens advice, like they give out really practical, helpful, useful advice. So, you know, it could be something like that. It could be something like, I have a team member who, you know, keeps showing up late to work. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to handle the situation.
do you know what the most like common question is asked by? So what's the most common question or reason people are phoning in by the younger people? Do you know what they speak about?
It's mental health. We've seen a massive spike in people calling in for mental health since 2020, since the pandemic, and that's across all age ranges as well. Which I think, you know, you can look at it in a way that you know, it's great that people are talking when they need to talk to people. On the financial side of things, we've seen a massive increase in people looking for support with their housing, which is definitely new to the charity. And that is, again, it's across all age ranges, but particularly with the younger generations coming through to the helpline, looking for financial support with housing. It is a lot of the time looking to get kind of off sofas, you know, out of staying with friends, looking to get their own place, not being able to afford a housing deposit for a private rental place. And so that's one thing that we have been able to help people with if they've been in the trade for 5 years or more, is getting that deposit together. Also making sure that their wages will cover their rent going forward. It's not something we would help with kind of month to month, but people have their independence. And, you know, we've had many calls come in with people sofa surfing, and, you know, it's not right. It's not fair. People should have their own safe space to live and go to sleep. So that is one thing that the charity will and can help with.
I think that's a really big thing. So obviously working in the hospitality industry, it could be shift work, you could have set hours, it could be a really busy day, it could be a really slow day, and actually having somewhere that you can go back to after that to unwind, to calm down, to relax and do whatever you want. Having your own space is a huge thing. And I've only recently had my own space, and it's wonderful. I can go out all day, I can be as social as I like, and then when I come home I can do what I need to relax. And I think a lot of people in hospitality struggle with that if they don't have their own space, because then your brain's constantly switched on. And that's like, hospitality is a very active job.
Yeah.
And like being able to take it out your head and just relax at the end of the day is a huge thing. So being able to offer that to people must be quite rewarding, I think, as well.
It is. It's amazing. And, you know, like you say, when somebody is working in hospitality, they're around people all day. You know, when you're working in hospitality, like, your job is to make sure people have a good time. So, you know, you're super on it, and it's a lot. It takes a lot to kind of, you know, be there for people like that. And to not then be able to go home and have somewhere to get changed, you know, lie down, like go to sleep. And it's you know, it makes a huge amount of difference. And when we've been able to award people with a housing deposit, you know, to be able to get their, like, you know, it could be a room in a shared accommodation, but it is their own space, and it is completely game changing. And like any awards that we've given, they've been so grateful.
I can imagine it's like I said, it's just having your own space makes such a difference.
Yeah,
it can be full on. It's very enjoyable, and I have found that working in the pub, there's a lot of people that have come in and they wouldn't say boo to a goose. They would not speak to anyone. And 3 months, 6 months down the line, you can't stop them from talking to people. They love greeting people as they come through the door. They're more than happily talk to them while they're serving drinks, serving food and everything. And you get, I don't know, have you seen the growth in people themselves? So do you have, if you have a conversation with someone, is it a one-off conversation, or is it do you check in a few months, or is there the option to check in with people?
Yeah, we have a befriending service, but the take up on that is mostly for kind of older generations. We do offer it, but I think you're so right in what you're saying. I think everybody should work in hospitality when they're starting out, because the key to any job is communication. I think no matter what you do, and I think what better place to learn and, you know, figure out your communication skills than being thrown in at the deep end.
Yeah.
You've got all walks of life, all different types of people coming into you if you're working in hospitality, and you need to figure out how to communicate with all different types of people. And it's not always easy.
Nope.
But I think everybody should do that as one of their first jobs.
Completely agree.
Because if you can communicate well, that will stand to you in your future career, whatever it is that you might end up doing, if it's in hospitality or if it's not. I think it's just such an important skill, and I think it's a great way to learn.
I completely agree with that. So, myself, having worked in pubs, I was very lucky that the pub I worked in, my brother worked in too. So I had an inn, and I could talk to him, but I wouldn't talk to anyone. They make me shut up now, because I talk too much at them.
I find that really hard to believe.
What, that I talk too much?
No, that you didn't.
So I didn't. People, if I say that to people now, they're like, "You didn't talk to people." I was like, "No, wouldn't talk to anyone. Wouldn't talk to." I was a very weird child.
That I might believe.
Yeah. I used to wear odd shoes.
Really?
Yeah, I'd have Vans in a dark blue and a light blue, and I'd wear them odd.
That would drive me mad.
Yeah, my mum was so grateful that I made her buy 2 pairs of shoes every time. But yeah, no, it definitely made me who I am. And growing up in the industry, so my parents, the pub I work, my parents were always drunk there, so it's a family-friendly pub. It has given me my backbone, and I think, like you said, people should do that, because no matter what career you go into, whether you stay in the pub industry, which obviously we'd love people to do, but if you go from the pub industry to working in events and marketing like we do, communication is such a big thing in any job that you are doing. If you can't communicate with people, then you shouldn't be in that role.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially in our role, I think.
Yeah. I had a conversation with somebody yesterday, and somebody wasn't understanding what they were saying. And I was like, well, it's not their fault, it's your fault, because you need to find out a way to make them understand. Communication is so important, and if you can communicate effectively, you'll do really well in whatever it is that you do. I will definitely be making my children go and work in a pub when they are of the legal age.
It's such a good thing, though. I think that is a difficult thing, though, with the age limits. So I know a lot of pubs won't take people until they're 18. Yeah. Because of the laws before.
And you can see why, though, right? Yeah.
I can completely understand why, especially in pubs where they're full of old men. Which, no offense to men, not all men are like that, but yeah, different age groups. But there are ways that you can employ younger people. So Shield Safety, one of our helpline providers, they did a whole thing on how to employ younger people and all the risk assessments you have to do. So there are definitely ways that you can employ younger people, but I do understand why they wait till they're 18. And I think another big thing that a lot more people are doing now is training in every area. So if you're 18 and you can pour a pint, that's great. But if you can't speak to people at the front of house, it's all very well, you can pour a pint, you might pour the best Guinness in town, but if you can't speak to the person that you're pouring it for, what's the point in you being behind the bar?
Exactly.
And it's the same if you're working in the kitchen. You should be able to have the conversation with the customers whether you're cutting carrots or you're pouring a pint. Like, it should be the same thing. And like you said, like getting kids into the industry. I know a lot of people that come in our pub with their kids. The kids are like, I'm going to work here. This is my first job. I want to work here.
And it's such a great first job. Like, if you have an employer who's going to approach it that way, where you get trained in every single area, what a fantastic, well-rounded first job. Like, it's like literally second to none.
Yeah, it covers every area, and it gives you a insight to every area, which is, I think, a lot of people should have within the industry. So with the LTC and Workforce, obviously, Workforce is going to be a membership platform that we are launching to anyone in the pub industry. How are the LTC going to support, like, going to help with the Workforce? What support are you giving to anyone that signs up for Workforce?
So we've got our helpline, first of all, that will be available to anybody who works in the licensed trade. But we are working on producing some content similar to this, where we are looking at how teams and individuals can look after themselves and their teams in a better way. And we will look at all sorts of areas like mental health, resilience, nutrition and hospitality, management tips. You know, the world is our oyster, really, in terms of like the conversations that we're having. We want it to be really educational. And the goal of every piece that we are putting out is the viewer needs to come away having learned something. And we'll be launching that content soon, and all of that will be available through Workforce.
That sounds great. And I think the managerial side of it, I know a lot of people are put into those roles and they get all the training they need to know what to do as a manager, but managing your team and knowing what to do if someone comes to you with a mental health issue, or even like they're just having a bad day, that is a huge thing. And like being able to offer those services to people should make a huge difference.
Definitely. And I think it's about giving people the confidence as well to know what to do in those circumstances, because, you know, you can do some mental health training, but if somebody comes to you with a problem that you have no idea how to help somebody on, our goal is to be able to kind of give people the confidence and the tools to help people no matter what it is that, you know, they've come to you with. And, you know, part of that is signposting to people, you know, charities like the LTC and others, because we are not counsellors. We don't have the answers to everything. If somebody comes to you and they're struggling, you know, I think the best thing that you can do is be there and like listen to somebody, but you're not an expert in that area. And so to know where to guide somebody to and help them and, you know, seek professional advice or support, I think is really important. Anyone can call the helpline, and if it's, you know, if you need to vent, you know, that's what it's there for. If you have an issue, the helpline's there, they'll be able to help you. But it's just giving the people the confidence, I think, to pick up the phone and ask for help if they're struggling.
It's also there, so like if you want to help someone but you don't know the advice, so you can only give someone a certain amount of advice.
Exactly.
Like, we don't know everything. Without being rude, the people on your helpline don't know everything, to like all the answers to every question.
Yeah.
But actually someone going, right, I can help you up to this point, but then call the LTC.
Yeah.
They can help you further. They'll offer you this advice. They put you in touch with the right people. I think being able to have that literally a phone call away must make a huge difference, and it should make a huge difference.
And I think if you look at employee wellness, there's so many facets to that, you know, and it's individual to each people. Like, everyone's going through different things, so what one person will need is completely different to the other person.
Yep.
And that's not an easy task. If you are management and you are looking after a team of people, it's really hard. The training isn't there, or, you know, you're put into a situation that you're not really sure how to deal with. Like, training is great, but I think looking at how to deal with kind of people in those everyday social moments is so important. I think often maybe overlooked. So I think we'll be having conversations with people from across the industry who have experience in that area, but are also experts in that area. And we will continue to have those conversations and continue to educate ourselves and I was going to say the wider workforce.
I like that. The wider workforce.
The wider hospitality workforce.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. The wider workforce.
That's good.
No, that's great. If anyone needs to access the LTC helpline, they can find information on the Workforce website, or they can contact us directly or LTC directly. But there is loads of different things. Two things I have. Kayleigh and I are really stupid, and we have signed up for peddling for pubs.
Peddling 2 pubs.
2 pubs, so sorry. I'm not doing Kenya.
And I'm keen to cycle to the pub.
Yes, yeah. So obviously the LTC being a charity, they are working with the Only a Pavement Away charity. They are fundraising as much money as possible while half of the people in the industry, I say half, some people are cycling around Kenya for 3 days.
I think they do 5 days cycling.
5 days.
Yeah.
Not my thing.
No.
That. I've been wanting to do that all day. So there's some people doing Kenya and they're raising some money. So it's 5 days cycling in Kenya in the heat, trying not to be eaten by lions.
I know, and the altitude as well, which I find terrifying.
Yeah, that's not our thing. So Kayleigh and I will be cycling round
in much more reasonable North Devon, although we were there during the summer holidays and I brought my bike and we were staying in Croyd, and there's no way out of Croyd other than up massive hills.
Yeah, so we are doing that in May for charity. It'll be great fun.
It will be great fun.
I have a knee.
Oh no, this is bad news.
Yeah.
Are you going to bail?
No, I'm not going to bail. You will just see me in agony every day. The first day I'll be fine. And then I'll be like, oh, I can't pedal anymore. So if not, Kayleigh's going to get a tandem. And we're going to do a tandem ride.
Brilliant. I've always wanted to ride a tandem.
I'm not sure I want to ride them up hills, though.
Unless we can get some sort of electric tandem, then that
we'll just
would be
tie
good.
ourselves to the back of the lorry, the support vehicle.
There'll be enough. There's 50 riders.
50 riders,
this year going to Devon. I feel like we'll be able to hitch a lift.
Yeah, it'll be great fun. It's a lot of work. What is it, 300 kilometres over 2.5 days?
230 kilometres over 3 days.
Okay, that sounds a lot better than 300. I'm feeling a little bit better about it.
Yes, it's doable. It will be hard. I think there's a couple of quite steep hills.
Isn't it 1,000? Was it 1,000 kilometre incline on the first day?
Is it meters
or is it meters? I don't know. 1,000 kilometres is a lot. It's like Everest.
I think it's 1,000 meters.
1,000 meters. Yeah.
Yes,
I'm making it sound much better in my head now because
yeah.
I keep getting it wrong and thinking it's really far.
The hills would be hard, but it would be really great fun. And again, I think, like I was saying earlier, working for a hospitality charity is awesome. Going on a bike ride with a bunch of people who work in hospitality is really fun.
You did last year, didn't you?
Yes, we went to Yorkshire last year, and I can ride a bike, but I don't ride, or I didn't before I went to Yorkshire. So I would say, if anyone was thinking about doing it next year, don't be worried, because I had very little experience and still managed it. Was maybe a little bit grumpy by the end of it, but also had a really great time.
No, it should be good fun.
It will. It will be amazing.
But it's all for a great cause. I think last year they raised 400,000
in total. The 2 rides raised, over 400,000, which is an incredible amount.
And where does that money go?
So we split it directly between Only a Pavement Way and the Licensed Trade Charity. And the Licensed Trade Charity, that money goes directly towards the beneficiaries of the LTC. So it just means that we can continue growing awareness and supporting people in the industry financially. And I think, we're seeing the demand increase for financial support. So by kind of fundraising initiatives like Peddling for Pubs and Peddling 2 Pubs, it means we can reach more and more people in the industry, which is just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. So if anyone is interested in that, or they can find out more on socials, on
Should
the
we
website.
just get them to message Steve Alton?
Yeah. Steve Alton is heading up the ride.
Message him for more details. For anybody who wants to find out more information, go to peddlingforpubs.co.uk and there's a contact form there.
There's also a sponsor form.
There is, and all the Just Giving links are there.
All the Just Giving links.
Yeah.
But it all goes to a great cause.
It is, yeah.
Okay, so the last thing that we are going to do with all our podcasts is that the person before you has written a question.
I love this.
I don't know the question.
Amazing.
There is you can ask whatever you like.
Okay.
Within reason, obviously.
So I need to think of
there
a
might
question
be
now
children
as well.
they're listening to this too, so please be
Do I ask?
polite.
Am I asking the question now?
I have a question to ask you.
Okay, fine.
And then you're going to write yours down for the next person.
Okay, great, because I need time to think.
Okay. What's the question?
Somebody hand her the question.
Oh, interesting. So this question, obviously you don't work in a pub or anything. You're not a hospital, but you do work in the industry. If you could, would you do it all again? Is the question.
100%. I am so grateful that I feel like I've stumbled into the hospitality industry. It wasn't my intention to work in the hospitality industry. My husband has worked in the hospitality industry since I've met him. He is a group operations director for some pubs in London. And since I've met him, he's always worked in hospitality. He's worked in nightclubs. Pubs have been in his family his entire life. And he has always said, you need to work in hospitality. I just didn't know my in. I didn't know where I kind of was going to fit. And then we moved over from Ireland over to London. And it just seemed really daunting. Like, you know, when you haven't been in an industry before. The job for the LTC came my way through a friend. And I thought, oh, this sounds really interesting. And without having any expectations other than, I think I'll like it. I went for it, and I have thoroughly enjoyed the whole experience of working for hospitality. I can want to continue working in hospitality. I'd never want to not work in hospitality now. I think it is such a fantastic industry. You've got some incredible people who work in the industry, and so many opportunities as well.
I think people don't realise that though. Like, hospitality isn't just pouring a pint. It's not just serving food. There's so many aspects to hospitality, and that's really what Workforce is about. Realising that you could gain a whole career. You could gain your family, your friends. You could meet like your future husband or wife. Like, there's so much in it that people just don't see.
Yeah, and I think, you know, as an industry, we need to get better at shouting about it, because having only had 1 year experience in hospitality, I can say for sure it's my favourite industry that I've ever worked in.
Yeah, I've had a few more years than that, but we won't say how long.
How long?
I've worked in the pub on and off since I was 14.
Have you?
I've worked in events for 6-7 years, all in hospitality.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And like different companies, huge companies, small companies. My company at the moment, probably the best one I've worked for.
Really?
You feel like hospitality makes you feel so valued.
Yeah.
There are some industries that haven't made me feel as valued.
Yeah.
But where I am now, I think like everyone is so valued. And everyone's on the same wavelength. So like the BII's slogan is keeping pubs thriving in the heart of every community. Everyone has that like in their blood now. It is something that is written in stone. That everyone that we work with,
out of you all.
It does, and you don't even realise it's happening.
Yeah.
That's the funniest thing. Like, you'll be like, I'll go out with my family, and they're like, Jess, you don't have to clear the tables. You don't work here. I'll be like, but I know how difficult it is when you're busy and there's glasses left. Or I'll be like, oh, there's a BII window sticker.
It is amazing though, but like you said, I think the people who work in hospitality are really passionate, and I think that's one of the very unique aspects of the hospitality industry, and why it's such a joy to work in.
That is what Workforce is, to prove that it is it's a passionate career. It can be your life, and there's so many good aspects to it. It is hard work. If anyone tells you that hospitality is not hard work, they have not done it properly.
Yeah.
But it's so rewarding that it's worth it.
And especially over the last few years, I think, hospitality has been hit hard, but it just, I think one thing that has come from it is it has shown everybody how much we do value it as customers and as people who work in the industry as well. I just had an idea.
Okay.
Are you going to interview people who have progressed their career in hospitality? I can give you my husband.
Yes.
He did a hospitality degree in college.
That's
and then
cool.
went on
I can give you my husband.
Just for rent for a couple of hours.
Yeah. It'll cost you 2 Guinness without a shamrock.
Yeah, exactly. Minus the shamrock for sure.
Is that really offensive?
It is really offensive.
Why is it offensive?
Because it's not meant. It's very American.
Yes. Yeah. But if you go to the Guinness factory, you can put your face on a Guinness. Is that not offensive?
I know it is, but because nobody Irish goes to the Guinness storehouse.
My mum and dad are in Ireland right now. They went to the Guinness factory yesterday.
I say that. I've been, obviously.
I haven't been, but I really want to go. Is it the best
really
Guinness
cool.
ever?
Yes, it is. It's amazing. It really is. But
my dad doesn't like Guinness. Sorry to offend you, but he has drunk 3 pints since they've been there, and the The
No
factory
way.
was the best one.
Really? Did they put their face on the Guinness or no?
No.
No, yeah.
They were like, why would I want a face on my, why would I
Yeah,
want to
no,
drink
it's
my own
crazy.
face?
Yeah, it's outrageous. It's the same thing. I don't want to drink Shamrock.
Okay, I will remember
just
that.
wanna
Every time I
drink the
try and draw
Guinness.
one, I'll be like, no, what am I doing? Kayleigh said don't.
Well, especially if you're serving somebody who is Irish.
No, I don't do that very often.
Okay, fine. Then you're fine.
Okay.
But yes, you can have my husband.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, we'll sign him up. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.